Welcome back to Behind the Meter, an MPSC podcast where we explore the people, programs, and partnerships helping shape Michigan's energy and telecommunications future. I'm your host, Mike Byrne. In this episode, we're going to take a closer look at the Michigan Energy Assistance Program, also known as MEAP, a vital resource that helps thousands of Michigan households to stay connected to essential energy services each year. We'll talk about how MEAP works, who it serves, and how it connects residents with long-term energy support and education. Joining us today is Kasey Grieco, Manager of Energy Assistance for the Michigan Energy Assistance Program at Superior Watershed Partnership, who will share how MEAP helps prevent shutoffs, supports households through tough times, and strengthens energy stability across the state. Welcome to the show, Kasey. We're glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
We also have Chair Scripps here with us again. Chair, thank you for joining us for this important conversation today. Maybe before we jump into our MEAP conversation, we could get to know you a little bit better, Kasey. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you do at Superior Watershed Partnership, maybe what Superior Watershed Partnership does for clients in Michigan.
Okay. So I am originally not from Michigan, but I'm a Maine native and moved several years ago to the UP. And I was never in the energy field until I did come to Michigan. I have a background in domestic violence, in municipal government, almost 20 years of teaching at the post-secondary level. And I kind of stumbled into this field and really discovered a passion. I feel like this is the work I was meant to do. And I love energy assistance because it's such a, I guess, sleeper subject almost. Like, we know about food insecurity. We know about housing insecurity. It's front and center, and we see it on the news and, on our streets every day. Energy insecurity and energy poverty is not on anybody's radar, I don't think. And yet it's such a, we don't live in a world anymore where you can really choose to go without power. It just isn't the world. The world just doesn't work that way. In fact, you could lose your kids if your lights get cut off and you can't get your lights put back on. So I love the niche factor of it and the impact that energy assistance can have on a family's entire well-being, because it's just so intrinsically connected to all of the other parts of your life and the social determinants of health. So at Superior Watershed Partnership, I am the manager of energy assistance. I basically oversee all of our energy assistance. I supervise our caseworkers. I work with utilities and with the commission, with other agencies to make sure that we're all, best serving clients. And one of the things I love the most is because we're a small office, I also get to work with clients. So I'm usually every day talking to people who are seeking assistance. Superior Watershed Partnership in general is a conservation organization. So we approach everything through a lens of conservation. And when we look at energy assistance, we're looking at it not just to, help prevent a shutoff perhaps this month, but how can we work with this household to help reduce their usage, to make their homes more efficient, more comfortable, more safe, and then reduce that consumption so that, hopefully going forward, they don't maybe need, or they need, less.
One of the things that stands out to Superior Watershed, so we have a network of MEAP grantees that we work with in all parts of the state. Superior Watershed, of course, is based in Marquette and serves the UP. I mean, that's really the focus of the organization. But can you talk a little bit about what it's like to sort of offer these programs in Michigan's Upper Peninsula?
Yeah, the UP, I think, is pretty unique, as you know. And I say that even as someone who's not from here, having experienced the two parts of the state. We have like a third of the state's landmass and I don't know, a tenth of the population, I think,
3%.
or 3%. Okay. And we're just, it's so geographically remote, and we serve the entire UP, so all 15 counties from end to end. And it comes with unique challenges of, really, really harsh winters, which, increase people's consumption. A lot of people who still rely on what we call deliverable fuels. So like propane, fuel oil, wood, pellets, and those things get delivered on a schedule. So maybe they only get delivered on Thursday, and you have 5% of your tank and it's 10 degrees out. Those are particularly interesting challenges. We spend every year between 30 and 40% of our funding for deliverable fuels alone, which I think statewide it's like 2%.
Yeah, in fact, I think that there's actually maybe some confusion that MEAP funds and assistance funds in general can actually be used for deliverable fuels. It's not just to pay your electric utility or natural gas utility. That's where the money is collected, but it can be used for energy, any energy assistance.
Yes,
that's a great example.
Yeah, thank you.
So maybe it would be a good idea to kind of zoom out at this moment and talk a little bit about the Michigan Energy Assistance Program. And Chair Scripps, I wonder if you can maybe give us a description of kind of what the program is and who it's designed to help.
Sure. In fact, this is a place where it's changing too. So it's been around for a number of years. It was revamped into essentially its current form back in 2014. It collects a small charge from every electric customer across the state. There are some who can opt out, although that's changed just in the last couple of years as well. And then that creates a pool of money that ultimately, in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services, the Public Service Commission distributes to a network of grantee nonprofit organizations around the state. And it's really that relationship between the commission and these community-based nonprofits that are often the frontline service providers that makes MEAP special in my mind, because it's not just the government handing out dollars, and sometimes that can feel impersonal. Often these organizations have direct relationships that go well beyond assistance. I think Superior Watershed's a great example that I'd want to sort of follow up on. But they then provide the assistance for electricity, for natural gas, for delivered fuels, as we were talking about, to families who are struggling affording their bills. And in the last year, there have been some important changes that expand the eligibility. It used to be 150% of the federal poverty level. It's now 60% of state median income, which equates to about 200% of the federal poverty level. So an expanded universe of people who are eligible for this funding, and also expanded funding. So it used to be capped at $1 per meter per month. All sorts of fun regulatory speak. It's now $1.25 cents per meter per month, and that can increase year by year until it gets to about $2 per meter per month. So a doubling of funding over time. And I think that's important, particularly given the folks who are struggling and some of the scaling back of other assistance programs that people rely on. One of the things that I have always admired about Superior Watershed Partnership is that it really takes like a whole customer approach. And so there's assistance programs that you administer, but you're also working with people on weatherizing their homes, on improving the energy efficiency of their homes. Can you talk about how Superior Watershed approaches its work with the customers that you serve, and really helping to identify not only assistance, but other ways that they can save money on their energy bills?
Absolutely. Yeah, we really try to be almost a one-stop shop, I guess, in terms of all things household energy. So, usually when somebody comes to us, they're coming to us in crisis. Historically, they have a shutoff notice, or maybe they're already shut off, or they're low on propane. And, people who seek assistance, they deal with a lot of different agencies, and not everybody treats people with dignity. And there's a lot of hoops to jump through. The processes can be really challenging for all of the different services people need. So we really start off in those first times they're coming to us, just trying to build some rapport, let people know that, like, we're here, you're human. This is a thing that sometimes people need help with. That's why we're here. If you didn't need help, we wouldn't be here. And over time, as we build a relationship and gain trust, which I think you were talking about, with agencies kind of being the boots on the ground instead of the government handing out money. We start trying to talk to them more about energy conservation. We ask questions about their home, the envelope of their home, the systems in their home. And ultimately, what we're hoping to do is schedule them to receive a home energy assessment of some sort. We have certified technicians in-house, great crew that, go out all over the UP to people's houses and just look at the entire structure and all of the systems in it that contribute to the energy efficiency. From that point on, we do some weatherization ourselves. We do referrals to utility EWR programs. So clients can sometimes qualify for additional weatherization there, or a heat pump, or a new water heater. So it's we're trying. Our ultimate goal is to help every household that comes to us become a little bit more energy secure. And although sometimes that starts with taking care of a bill, like in the long run, we have a lot of older housing stock, and trying to make that more safe, comfortable, and efficient is our goal.
I love that. And I mean, that sort of the assistance in that moment of crisis becomes the start of a conversation and the start of a relationship. And that they might be there for one thing, but how do you address the immediate need and then take care of some of the longer term issues too? I wonder if there are stories. You mentioned, Superior Watershed small, you get to do some of this work directly. Are there stories of people that you've helped that stand out in your mind?
Certainly. I can think of one person we did some insulation for, and they called back however long later. It was an older gentleman, and said his feet were warm, and his floor temperature before weatherization had been right around 40 degrees in the winter. He knew because he'd put a thermometer on the floor. And he was just overjoyed that his feet were warm. And I mean, I think we discount sometimes like comfort and also safety. People trying to reduce their bills, they keep their houses sometimes at unsafe temperatures, both low and high. Or they, contain themselves to one room so they're not using as much electricity. So while we're working ultimately for conservation and efficiency too, like we're really mindful that like people's quality of life is affected by this.
Yeah, it can make a world of difference.
Yeah. We've had a lot of success referring people recently to the MyHer program, the rebates program, which is an incredible program where they can get up to $34,000 in home energy updates. And that's life-changing.
And that's the incredible thing about this is that, I mean, so you administer the MEAP program, you work in partnership with utilities on some of their offerings, that there are these other things provided by other parts of government, but you serve as sort of navigators to this. And it starts with one phone call, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know. We don't know the programs that are available. We don't have the time, particularly those who are trying to juggle a whole series of responsibilities and keep their head above water. It's tough to navigate, and to have partners like Superior Watershed Partnership that can help in finding those things that are available to customers, to residents that they may not even know about. I think that's really powerful.
It feels pretty cool, to be honest. Part of why I love my job is because every day I know that I've done something that helps somebody in a tangible way, and it's good stuff.
What is the best way for customers to be able to sort of to reach out, to access these resources? I don't know that it's always intuitive, and especially for somebody who may be sort of experiencing crisis for the first time, there may be some anxiety or trepidation about even reaching out in the first place. So any advice you may have there, and then any suggestions you have just about how to best go about accessing these types of resources?
Yeah, I would. I mean, we tell people, if you're not sure, call 211. We all report to 211 regularly. All 9 of the grantees across the state report to 211. So they always have the most up-to-date info on who is accepting applications, who maybe is not, and who's in your area. Because while most of the grantees serve the whole state, working with somebody in your area just really helps you get better resources and referrals. If you're in Ishpeming and you need help with your electric bill, that's the UP, and you call a MEAP grantee in Detroit, they're not going to necessarily know where else you might be able to go to get food. They're not necessarily going to know about your local utilities specific EWR programs or have a contact with them to connect you. They're not going to send somebody from Detroit to your house in Ishpeming to do a home energy score. So I would say call 211, whoever they refer you to, just reach out. All 9 of the grantees work really closely together. And I can say, it's just a wonderful group of people who are really passionate about helping people become more energy secure. So you can expect to be, treated appropriately, and you can expect people to, really want to help you.
That's super helpful. And as we kind of put this podcast out there for folks to check out, we'll make sure to include links as well to 211, to the MPSC site, and to Superior Watershed Partnership as well, so folks have an awareness of how to reach out. So earlier, Chair Scripps mentioned that the MEAP program was updated in the last year or so through legislation that was adopted in the state legislature and signed by the governor. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what you've seen in terms of how those legislative changes, increase in eligibility, increase in funding, has had a positive impact on the work that you do.
Oh, for sure. These are things that as grantees, we've been advocating for years. These changes are, and I know Chair Scripps know, these changes are so needed, or were so needed. We were running out of money every year. We run on a fiscal year. We start in October, and we were running out of money this past year. We ran out the first week of April.
Wow.
So from April until September 30th, we didn't have funding to help people. And actually the start of this fiscal year, this October and now into November, we've seen more people coming to us who are disconnected than in any year that I've done this work before. So these changes are, really designed to remove obstacles and barriers for people seeking assistance. Like I said, there's so many places they're trying to apply, and you said they're juggling all the things and trying to keep their head above water. Now, it used to be you had to go to DHS and be approved for state emergency relief. You don't have to do that anymore. You can come directly to a grantee. The income eligibility has increased, so we're at that 60% SMI, which for a family of 4 is approximately $5,800 a month. So if you make, I think it's $5,852, but don't quote me on that. If you're a family of 4 and that's your monthly income, or less, you would qualify for assistance. There's also new categorical eligibility. So, a thing that's really hard for people sometimes is to get all of their income proofs and all of those. You got a letter from Social Security, you got a pay stub from this place, you've got child support from friend of the court. It's a lot of hoops to jump through. So in an effort to support especially households with vulnerable populations, the MEAP reform added some categorical eligibility. So households that have gotten the home heating credit, automatically eligible. Households who have received SER, automatically eligible. Households who receive SNAP or WIC, for example. And there are some others. So all you have to do is come to us and show us proof of your benefits as compared to, proofs of income for all 4 people in your home.
I think that's a really important change. I mean, it's
Yes.
just like that there are people who are struggling, but sometimes they don't believe that they're eligible because, I'm working,
Right.
but it's still like working, but not making enough. And so just to be able to, to sort of increase that eligibility just a little bit
Yeah.
to that 60% of state median income, which for a family of four can be, a fairly a rate of pay that people might think, oh, I'm not eligible for anything. And then similarly, if, just qualifying for any of these other programs and that being sufficient to show eligibility as opposed to all the hoops, it just makes the process easier. And it means that instead of spending all the time filling out application and demonstrating eligibility, you're actually sort of getting on with your life, taking care of the payments that you need to take care of, and that the system's working. So it's a much more people-centered as opposed to bureaucratic-centered approach.
Another change that I think is similarly really helpful is the crisis requirement has been removed from MEAP, which is something that we've advocated for very strongly for years also. Historically, you had to have a bill with past due charges on it. So at that point, you're in danger of shutoff. Or you had to be 25% of your deliverable fuel tank or below. And, I'll tell you, most people who have deliverable fuel, they live in the middle of nowhere. And a lot of them are old. And when it's, 3 feet of snow on the ground in January, it's really hard to get out to your propane tank if you're 85 years old and check your tank level. And then the anxiety of, oh gosh, it is at 25%. They're not going to deliver for at least a week. And I have to, because I don't have the internet, because this is a real situation we see every day. They don't have the internet. So then they have to send us their application by mail. We have to get a quote from the new MEAP guidelines. You can submit any bill. It doesn't have to have past due charges, and your tank needs to be at 30% or below. And just removing that crisis, not only is it keeping people safer and helping people actually be more self-sufficient, it's living in crisis constantly is just terrible for your mental and physical health. And when there's not a need for it, it feels pretty arbitrary. So we're really loving, and we're really hopeful as the year goes on that we're going to see fewer people shut off because they can come to us right away.
Well, and we sometimes say that all regulation is incentive regulation. And when you sort of take a step back and say, what does it require? What sort of behaviors are you encouraging if you need to be behind on your bills before you're eligible for assistance? You encourage people to get behind on their bills, but then they get the calls, and then they get the inquiries and the notices of shut off, and to your point, all that added stress that falls on people. It's just it feels like a no-brainer to sort of take that out of it and say, let's help these people as they know that they're having challenges, but before they get really behind in a place where it just is more difficult to dig out. And I'm glad you mentioned the delivered fuels piece of that, because that crisis definition, I think to propane providers, to propane customers, I've been a propane customer. I've had my propane run out. It's awful. And I've also gotten to do ride-alongs with Bowman Gas in the UP and down some of those 2 tracks to deliver. And I mean, add 3 feet of snow onto that, and it's a real challenge. So just making it a little more user-friendly, I think goes a long way in these instances.
Absolutely. I'm such a huge fan of the expanded eligibility and some of the other changes. I think, we're seeing more new households so far this fiscal year than normal for any fiscal year. Certainly, I think some of that is the general financial economic climate and people are struggling, but we've had so many new households come through the door, and I do think a lot of that is the expanded eligibility. These people who were somehow making it work, but just barely before, or robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, for folks who are struggling, it's the energy bill, the propane bill, the electric bill, gas bill, whatever is one thing, and then it's the medications, and then it's food, then it's housing, and I can maybe pay 3 of these this month. Which one falls through the cracks? So it helps not only in the stuff that it's designed for, but particularly when other programs are scaled back, it means maybe you've got a little more money for groceries for your family, a little more to hold on to your home. So it really, I think, plays an important role in that regard too.
Oh, it does. I grew up in that situation. I grew up in poverty.
So even, I guess, though, with the expanded eligibility, there are folks who are outside of eligibility for MEAP that don't have the sort of automatic categorical eligibility as we talk about it. But where can folks who are struggling but may not be MEAP eligible go?
That's a tough one. I think I would still suggest calling 211 and reaching out to your local grantee, because I know some of the agencies, we're all pretty much grant funded. So some of the agencies have other grants that may be, we recently had a grant through Leo, a My Impact grant, that allowed us to serve households from 151% FPL to 300% FPL. Now that funding is gone, and it unfortunately doesn't renew like MEAP does, but an agency in your area may have something similar. We also, it feels kind of like a Band-Aid, but we suggest, trying your local churches. Local churches can be really helpful. And in the UP, at least, the St. Vincent de Paul conferences sometimes can help.
Utilities also can help in certain cases, that they are affordable payment plans or other things that may be an option that people may be unaware of.
Yeah, they have, if you qualify for MEAP, you can enroll in an affordable payment plan where you pay a portion of your bill every month and your MEAP agency pays a portion of your bill every month. But even if you don't qualify for MEAP, they have their budget plans, which effectively just, averages your, takes your yearly consumption and divides it by 12, so that you're paying maybe a little bit more in the summer than you normally would, but a little bit less in the winter, and it's, more consistent. So that is definitely an option.
My parents use that as, seniors on fixed income, that just having the ability to spread that out to match. I mean, they didn't get more in the winter from Social Security,
right?
But the ability to spread those bills out over even just that,
yes,
helped a lot.
Yeah, it does. And to the consistency, what it's going to be. You're not going to open up a $200 bill all of a sudden when usually it's, $75. We helped somebody with an affordable payment plan recently. This is an elderly disabled person who, we had previously helped him with our My Impact funding because he was over income for MEAP, and now he qualifies for MEAP, which is super cool. And he's, incredibly thankful all the time. But when we enrolled him in an affordable payment plan with UPCO, we called him to say, hey, we've just, made our commitment. You're all enrolled and confirmed, and your monthly payment is going to be $12. He was in tears on the other end of the phone. $12 was something he could manage, and $12 was going to be consistent, and $12 every month for 2 years means he doesn't have to drive to our office, because he doesn't do online, to apply every month. And it's just, it's really important. Those budget plans can be really helpful.
Well, this has been a great conversation, and I think probably maybe the only regret that we have at this point is that we didn't sort of do this on site in the Upper Peninsula.
You're all welcome anytime. We love to show up.
So
I mean, maybe on that, it's you. Thank you for making the drive down to see us. We'll look forward to returning the favor.
Absolutely.
But as we wrap up, it's we're transitioning seasons. I'm wondering, do you have a favorite season there north of the bridge?
I do. I love autumn. I love when the air gets crisp and the leaves, especially contrasted with Lake Superior. It's just gorgeous. Although summers in the UP are pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I think my favorite season in the UP is black fly season.
Nope, you can keep that.
Well, when the air gets crisp, that's the time that people are starting to think about what they may need in terms of energy assistance, heating assistance in particular. And so it's great to know that that the MEAP program has evolved in a way that expands eligibility, that puts some more dollars towards these issues. And it's also wonderful to know that there are folks like you and your organization, Superior Watershed Partnership, that are doing really great work. So just appreciate everything that you and your team do to be able to help serve your clients in the Upper Peninsula. And appreciate all of you for joining us today. Once again, we will make sure to put some links in wherever you're getting this podcast so that you can try to get some of these resources. And we look forward to having you join us again behind the meter. Thanks.